Hi, I'm Ren Hood, and this is my final video for Professor Takun's class in Anthropology 1. And I will be presenting a video on Lilith in ancient Mesopotamia and how people handled her. So, we're all familiar with the concept of Lilith in the Judeo-Christian sense, where she's Adam's first wife, formed of the same clay as him, and in some cases she's also seen as the mother of demons, or even Lucifer's wife. And I'm just going to keep referring to my notes so I get all these facts correctly. But she's found in a lot of tabletop roleplay games, TV shows, video games, really all over. It's kind of hard not to find her in a lot of modern things. But her origins lay in a Mesopotamian demoness named Lamashtu. And Lamashtu first appeared around 4000 BC in Mesopotamia, which is currently Iraq and Iran. And she's a bit of an interesting character. So, she's depicted as having the head of a lioness and the feet of birds of prey. So, talons, kind of scaly looking, can grip onto things really well and yank. She also has these really long clawed fingers that have almost hook-like nails on the end that she used to snatch the life out of infants while they were still in utero. And she was blamed for just about anything that can go wrong during pregnancy. So miscarriages, stillbirth, early infant death, maternal mortality. Really just anything that really did often go wrong was her fault. And so, rightfully so, a lot of people were terrified of her. About 2,000 years later, circa 2000 BC, there's another demon that comes into play called Lilith. And Lilith is not a demon, but a group of demons. So you wouldn't say the succubus, you would say a succubus. Just a group of things. And she is the ghost of a girl who died before she could be married, so she died a virgin. And she is seen as responsible for men's wet dreams. This is seen as her having what she can in death, what she couldn't in life. So she's not really regarded with as much hatred as Lamashtu. It's more pity and trying to shoo her along into the afterlife so that she doesn't stick around too long. But what's interesting is, in around 1000 BC, these two demons start to mix in the minds of the ancient Mesopotamians. So Lamashtu loses her animal features, so she loses her lioness head and her taloned feet. She keeps her long fingers, though, for some reason. We're not entirely sure why. And as she blends with Lilith, she gains wings, since most ghosts and other dead people in Mesopotamian lore are depicted with wings. And she keeps both aspects of both demons in what they preside over, so she's still responsible for anything that can go wrong during or after pregnancy, and she's also responsible for seducing men and sometimes women in their sleep. And she's still very much feared, but the names become interchangeable, so you'll see depictions of what looks like Lamashtu under the name Lilith and vice versa. And eventually they just become one thing, and they go by both names. So why is everyone scared of Lamashtu? So pregnancy and childbirth are always going to be risky, that's just the fact of life. But right now you can pretty surely depend on the fact that your infant will not die in the first year of life, and that you won't die being pregnant. That is a fairly new development. And it's near impossible to find census records and statistics from ancient Mesopotamia, since a lot of it was records on the upper class, and even then they didn't preserve very well. So as a reference point, I'm going to give some statistics about Sierra Leone, which is a third world country in Africa that is currently experiencing high levels of fetal, infant, and maternal mortality. So let me make sure I get these numbers right. In 2012 in Sierra Leone, a little over 1 in 10 infants died before their first birthday. This is from about 7 months gestation, when they could be viable if born prematurely, to 1 year of age, 1 in 10 dead. And this increases as they get older until about the age of 5. And about 1 in 100 mothers died shortly after giving birth or while pregnant. And this is with humanitarian aid and efforts to bring modern medicine and medical techniques to Sierra Leone. So this is just the frame of reference that I'm using for why everyone was terrified of a demon that could cause literally anything to do with pregnancy or reproduction to go wrong. If this is the modern era with access to at least some modern medicine, you can get a sort of idea about how bad it was in 4000 BC, when literally none of that was available and you just had to cross your fingers and pray. So what do? You have this demon, you know she causes miscarriage and infant mortality, and you're a pregnant woman. How do you protect your infant and yourself from this demon that's absolutely terrifying, and you keep her out of your house? So the ancient Mesopotamians made something called incantation bowls, or sometimes they're called demon bowls. And anyone from any social class would be making these. They were very common for thousands of years, and they're one of our main artifacts. And I made one myself as a demonstration, so it's just any old bowl. They used to be earthenware. I got this one from the dollar store. It's just any bowl you can get your hands on. Doesn't have to be a fancy one. And the outside was sometimes decorated with spirals or the image of a snake eating its tail. No one's entirely sure why, but it was a very common motif in Mesopotamia and pretty much everywhere at the time, honestly. You see it a lot in Norse mythology and Egyptian. And you could write on the outside in a spiral about who the bowl was for or who it was targeted at preventing from entering the house. So I wrote a little incantation on the outside of mine. And then the inside, you would draw a picture of the demon you're trying to get rid of or prevent from entering your house. So this is my artist rendition of Lamashtu. And I'll see about bringing this bowl to class when I can. And around the rim of the bowl on the inside, you would write an incantation saying that they are not allowed in your house and how you wish them to leave you alone. And really, you could put just about anything in here. It was very personal. And when you were done with this and you had finished and all the paint had dried, you would flip it upside down like you're catching a bug or a spider so you could take it outside. And you would bury it in a corner of your house. Since the seams where corners meet are where demons come in Mesopotamia. And everyone had dirt floors, so you could bury the bowl in a corner of your house and it would keep the demon from entering. And the really cool thing about these bowls is a fair portion of them, a good amount, were written by the people they were making them for. So the upper crusts would commission these bowls and they were written in the third person. But the common people, they would make these themselves and they would write in the first person. And the majority of people making these bowls for themselves were women. They were often barely literate or illiterate women. So a lot of the translations have spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, bad handwriting, just a pain in the butt to translate, but it's really neat. And for people who couldn't read or write, there's what's called pseudoscript, which would mimic the look of writing, and you would tell the story or recite the incantation as you mimicked writing, and it would function the same as a regular incantation bowl. So everyone across the social classes were making these demon bowls to keep their houses safe so that their pregnancies were protected. And really, you see a lot of variation across the time, but it's all targeted towards the same demon. And this is over 4,000, possibly 5,000 years of Mesopotamia across different religions, so Judeo-Christian, the ancient Mesopotamian religion. You see a lot of different dialects being used. You see them in Persian, You see them in what's basically Proto-Hebrew. Really anything that could be in the region at the time was written down in these incantation bowls. So they're an excellent resource. Thank you for coming to my video, and I hope you like it. Goodbye!